Life is full of questions. Why do bad things happen to good people? Why does God allow pain, loss, and suffering in a world he created? The book of Job doesn't give us simple answers, but it gives us something much deeper. Wisdom about how God runs the world. Today we'll explore one of the oldest and most profound stories in human history, the story of Job, and discover how it reveals the mystery, the justice, and the mercy of God. Job was a man from the land of Uz, blameless, upright, and faithful. He feared God and turned away from evil. He was blessed beyond measure, a large family, vast herds, great wealth, and the respect of everyone around him. But behind the scenes, a heavenly conversation would change his life forever. The accuser, Satan, appeared before God and challenged him. Does Job fear God for nothing? You've blessed him with everything. Take it away, and he will curse you to your face. God permitted Job to be tested, but not destroyed. In a single day, Job lost everything: his livestock, his servants, and his children. Yet Job fell to the ground and said, "The Lord gave, and the Lord has taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord." Job 121. The accuser returned again. "Strike his flesh and bones," he said, "and he will curse you." God allowed it. Job was struck with painful sores from head to toe. His friends could barely recognize him. Even his wife said, "Curse God and die." But Job replied, "Shall we accept good from God and not trouble?" Job 2:10. Though shattered and confused, Job refused to turn away from his Creator. Then came Job's three friends, Eliphaz, Bildad, and Zophar. They sat with him in silence for 7 days. But when they began to speak, their words cut deep. They believed Job's suffering must be punishment for sin. They argued, "God is just. Therefore, you must have done wrong." Job defended himself. "I am innocent. If only I could speak with God, I would ask him why." The debate stretched for chapters, round after round of arguments about divine justice. But the truth was bigger than any of them could imagine. Their logic was simple. Good things happen to good people. Bad things happen to bad people. Yet Job's suffering shattered that formula. Job cried out to heaven in anguish. He accused God of being unfair. He asked why the wicked often prosper while the righteous suffer. In one of the most moving speeches of the Bible, Job said, "I know that my Redeemer lives, and that in the end he will stand upon the earth." Job 19:25. Even in pain, Job clung to hope, a hope in a living Redeemer who would one day make things right. Then enters Elihu, the youngest voice. He suggests that suffering can be a teacher, that God uses pain to correct, purify, and reveal his purposes. Elihu's words prepare the stage for the voice of God himself. Out of the whirlwind, God speaks, but he doesn't give Job direct answers. Instead, he asks questions. Where were you when I laid the earth's foundation? Can you command the morning or loosen Orion's belt? God takes Job on a cosmic journey, through creation, through the wildness of the world, through the lives of animals like the lion, the eagle, and the mysterious behemoth and Leviathan. The message is clear. The world is far more complex than human wisdom can grasp. Through these questions, God shows Job that he runs the world not by human logic of reward and punishment, but by his own divine wisdom. Creation is filled with both order and chaos. Rain falls in the desert where no man lives. The wild creatures thrive without human control. The world is sustained not for human comfort, but for God's glory. Job learns that God's wisdom is beyond comprehension, but his goodness never fails. He realizes God doesn't owe us explanations. He calls us to trust him. Overwhelmed, Job falls to the ground and says, "I had heard of you by the hearing of the ear, but now my eyes have seen you. Therefore I despise myself and repent in dust and ashes." Job 42:5-6. In humility and awe, Job stops demanding answers and starts worshiping. Then God restores him, blessing him with twice as much as before. His health returns, his family grows, and his joy is renewed. But more than wealth, Job gains something eternal, a deeper understanding of who God is. The message for us today: The book of Job reminds us that God's ways are higher than ours. We live in a world woven with mystery, where pain and beauty often walk hand in hand. When life feels unfair, Job's story calls us not to give up, but to trust, not to demand answers, but to walk in faith. God doesn't promise a life without suffering. He promises his presence through the suffering. And in the end, his justice, wisdom, and love will make all things right. So when you face storms, remember Job. The God who spoke from the whirlwind still speaks today through his word, his spirit, and his son, Jesus Christ. The wisdom of Job is not about understanding why things happen. It's about trusting who is in control. Though he slay me, yet will I trust him. Job 13:15. The book of Job's wisdom on how God runs the world. Trust the one who sees beyond what we can see.